Well, happy Sunday morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower. Good to see you all out there. And Wayne Steiger, good to see you there too, going to hell in so many different religions.
How you doing, Jeffrey? I think that that's so appropriate.
It is appropriate. Hey, how about we start today with some really good news?
What's that?
Well, I served 6.5 years in the U.S. Air Force, right?
Hmm.
And since I made the decision to go full time here, doing what I do for the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't had any health care. So Robert, USN vet, third generation, who's usually in our chat room, said, "Jeff, you got to go to the VA. You got to go to the VA." I'm like, "Oh, Robert, no, I didn't retire. Go to the VA. Go to the VA." So I went to the VA this week, and two pieces of paperwork, and 30 minutes later, I've now got full benefits with no deductible, and I can use my local doctor. Thanks to the Mission Act signed into law by President Donald J. Trump. So if you have more than 180 days of consecutive active duty, and you have an honorable discharge, go to your VA. You've earned it.
I think that's fabulous. I mean, you actually get to keep your doctor.
Well, what happens? They assign you, since I'm more than an hour's drive, I think, from the VA. They assigned me a local physician as my primary care physician.
Cool.
Urgent care, hospital, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, the VA is actually responding to veterans. Well, there you go. Things
Yeah, and you hear a
constantly
lot of
change.
complaining, a lot of bitching, a lot of moaning, and a lot of it rightfully so. So when they do something right, I think it's incumbent upon us to let them know they did a good job, and also to let all those veterans out there that don't have any health care to get to the VA and take advantage of the Mission Act.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Nothing wrong with that at all.
So there you go, Wayne.
Well, that's good news. So,
Not
are
that
you
we're
healthy?
not that we're saying keep America great, Trump 2020 or anything like that. It's just a public service announcement.
If we make it to 2020, right?
Oh, I'm optimistic,
Uh,
Wayne. I'm optimistic.
oh, I am forward looking. I'll
There
put
you
it
go.
because I think we're still due for some curveballs. But hey, we'll see.
We have Street King, who is one of our fine military, or not military, but one of our fine police officers out there tuning in.
Got quite a few over on mine. Good to see that law enforcement personnel are aware and awake.
And from what I understand, you do get some jerks now and then out there, wearing the uniform. But I think by and large, they're good, honorable, decent, hardworking, brave souls out there, literally putting their life on the line to help us and to help keep this society, keep the lid on.
Well, I'll tell you, and their job is a lot more tougher today. I um, lost my uncle in the line of service, and that was back in 1976. And I can remember it just seemed to be a lot more respectful time. Today, we have family that are in law enforcement, and pulling over a car today is a risk of your life.
Yeah.
So my heart is right there with them, and we certainly support them.
And I can be critical of. I mean, I miss the days. I'll be honest with you, when the cops had on some trousers and a shirt, and they were approachable and nice. And now a lot of them look like they're SWAT team. And I don't like that. But I guess as I sit back and think about it, a lot of the times there's a reason for it.
Yeah, it's localized to whatever your local sheriff or county police agency is. I disagree with the paramilitary uniforms that civilian law enforcement officers are wearing these days. They should be distinctly shown to be civilian servants, law enforcement, but civilian servants, not ex-paramilitary wearing military garb in a civilian job.
I agree with that.
I think it's wrong. I think it's deceptive. It sets a bad tone with the community, and we've got to find some better way to reverse this. So, you police chiefs out there, you lieutenants and what have you that have input, stop this paramilitary bullshit. Get back to the fact of what you are. You are a public servant enforcing the law. You're not an extension of the United States military.
And Wayne, how would you react to them saying, but look, bro, we got people shooting at us. We got people sniping at us. We are in a war zone just by walking out there. So we have to
Then let's
protect
declare
ourselves
it
with the
as a war
body
zone.
armor and let's protect ourselves with, we have to, I think you're right, but I think there's a medium ground somewhere.
I hope there is. I mean, the problem is that there is such distrust of law enforcement personnel. Listen, I came out of the 70s, and
Right.
I got tear gassed by the cops. I mean, we were protesting the Vietnam War, Nixon more than anything else. We didn't want to go to Vietnam, but
Les, if you want to stay in the chat room, chill.
it's Les not happy.
Les is not happy with our police officers.
Well, you know what? They're human beings. They have
are.
emotions. And Jeffrey, I guess this is the thing that gets me is that we so polarize because of what a person wears, what insignia they have on them. You're Republican, you're Democrat, you're pro-police, you're not. I mean, at some point in time, we've got to stop this insanity.
Yeah. And it seems a little bit that we've gone, in some ways I can see it, the police officers, as a general rule, it used to be we're here to protect and serve, and now it almost seems like they're here to intimidate and control.
And to back up something you said.
So we've got to find a medium ground for that. Street King says, I lost 5 brothers a couple years ago. Times are different even when I started 22 years ago.
Yeah. Well, for most officers on patrol, they are in a war zone. I mean, you described it perfectly well. I mean, Chicago is a perfect example. I mean, what's the body count they're going to be this weekend? It is. Yeah. I mean, this is worse than Beirut, Lebanon, any type of what we would see in a third world country. So in one sense, they are in a war zone.
Yeah, and I think that's where you get what I agree with you is an overreaction to the paramilitary presence or the paramilitary appearance.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't want the local police to be rolling troop carriers down the streets. I just don't. And it happens.
I don't like those MRAPs. Like, what the hell is this?
Well, you had the government giving all the surplus stuff to local police departments. I mean, that for SWAT guys, but gee, money Christmas. We don't need tanks.
Like what?
Running down the street.
Yeah, in LA, I mean, LA County, they have a arsenal the equivalent to any National Guard.
And again, I understand the argument that, well, so do the Crips and the Bloods and the gangs that are out there against them. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's this love. If you see a cop, get him a cup of coffee, bring him a flower.
I went to I was getting my concealed carry permit, and I was at the police station, and I saw the sheriff, and I just said, "Are you the sheriff?" And he stopped and said, "Yes, I am the sheriff." He introduced me, sat down, talked to me for like 15 minutes. We're talking about weapons. He showed me his weapon. He showed me his backup one. This is the one I use for concealed carry. And we went through all that. So maybe that's one of the benefits of living in a small town. But he's a great guy. And I tell you, he's got my vote.
And Kansas is an open carry state.
It is open carry.
Yeah. Exercise your rights, folks. That's the best thing I can say.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I'll just say it.
As this great man once said, either use it or lose it.
Yeah. If you're going to come into the Walmart around Kansas City and perpetrate a mass atrocity, be careful, because I know there's at least 2 people carrying that can shoot really good. It may not end up the way you want it to end up.
Listen, I got my wife, so,
Yep.
It works very well anyway. So how's your week been, buddy?
My week has been amazing. It's things just keep getting better. We keep getting more and more opportunities. There's lots of great stuff going on. And yet I'm getting some messages that I have to proclaim, Wayne, that are not very fun, but yet I love to do it because somebody has to do it. We talked about the connections between the Essenes and pedophilia, the connections between the Book of Enoch and pedophilia. And I got one coming up, Wayne. it may be the reason why they think they can do this pedophilia is because it goes all the way back to Jesus. So get ready for that.
That's controversial.
I'm about done, Wayne. I think we're, I've fought and I've tried and I've tried to believe that, there could have been a Jesus. Not only is there not a Jesus, but the Bible is 100% against us. It is a book that is nothing but a fear and guilt control matrix against us. There's no good in there. The only good is what we can pull out, a few diamonds, but we can pull out the fact of what they're trying to do to us and how they're trying to defeat us. From the beginning, it's been a setup. And I'm telling you, pedophilia is not an aberration by a few priests and a few preachers. It is part of the religion. It's a sacrament.
So, Jeffrey, let me run this by you. As you can see on my whiteboard, I've been really into some interesting things. So,
you don't really think I can read that whiteboard, do you?
Yeah, I do. With your good vision? Come on, buddy.
Anyway. Yeah, but it looks like a chicken ran across it with some ink on his feet.
Well, actually, yeah, it's essential when you really look at it.
I'm kidding.
Would you say, with all your years of eschatology, that the spirit realm is at war with the physical realm?
No.
Then how would you explain the constant attacks from the spirit realm into the physical realm, if you believe in the fact that there are evil spirits, demons, there's this duality of good God, bad God, etc.?
I think that, and this is just speaking from my own experience, after doing this almost 40 years, are there some great white sharks out there? Yes, there are. No doubt about it. But unless you're a dummy like me and you go looking for them and jump in the water with them and swim with them, you're not going to see, I did get dental and vision too, you're not going to see many great white sharks. Most of what people see and interpret as demons, as evil entities coming after them, is energy that they have sent out into the universe that is coming back to them as a salmon upstream for them to rebalance it.
I have to think on that one, but I see a symmetry. Solomon teaches that the existence of the spirit realm is actually the human mind. That within the human mind lives all the demons, lives God, Jehovah, Yahweh, because in essence, they really don't exist.
We're almost saying the same thing, Wayne. What I'm saying is, everybody loves to talk about the law of attraction. When you're trying to get money, you're trying to get a girlfriend, you're trying to get a boyfriend, they love the law of attraction. But when you say, F that guy, or she's a bitch, that puts out energy too. And that energy goes out there and it swirls around, at least in my idea, it swirls around, it gathers other energy like it unto it, and it becomes a faux entity. It takes on some personality. It takes on some thing that looks like it's a living thing, but there's a law of the universe that it has to come back to you to get balance. So it comes back to you. It's obtained some sort of sentience, doesn't want to be re-assimilated back into you as part of you. So it knows who you are. It scares you, but you have to say, oh, this is just my energy. Flood it with balanced energy. It snaps back into alignment, or it goes away and comes back another day. But very, very few of you listening to us ever deal with real demons. You're saying it's within the head. I'm leaving the opportunity for it to be some externalized spirit that came from our head. So we're really saying the same thing in different terminology.
When I found out, reading this book on spiritism,
exactly like a tulpa breaking dawn.
Yeah. The finite mindset that if you say that a spirit can only be created evil, and that's its entire existence, infinity, that is so limiting in the aspect for every human being that dies and crosses over into the spiritual realm.
I agree.
I can't go with that anymore. And I performed a ritual here recently in invoking some of these badasses, and nothing happened.
You try to draw down and nothing happened?
Oh, I did more than draw down, but using some of these ancient. But what I discovered was I had no fear.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have any fear, to me, I don't see how it actually manifests.
Hmm. Well, we'll have a talk about that sometime.
Would love to. I mean, so on my whiteboard, I am here and I'm saying, all right, we have spirits, we have ghosts,
Test.
we have UFOs, we have aliens. Um, are they all the same? Are they all connected? Are they different? If they're different, how are they different? Because everything I described here is supported by visual proof of individuals who have seen UFOs, aliens, ghosts, spirits. But then it's very difficult to say on a collective level, do they all exist? Are they all one of the same, or do they not exist at all?
Yeah, and unfortunately, and a lot of people don't like this, but anecdotal evidence, which is I see, I saw, I heard, has to be filtered through objective and empirical evidence. So just because you think you saw Bigfoot doesn't mean there definitely is a Bigfoot. There's a lot of reasons you could have seen a Bigfoot, but I think that the most important thing is for us to keep our minds open and for us to keep our individual interaction with others at a place where we can allow diversity amidst unity and not start drawing camps and balkanize ourselves into tribes because he thinks they're demons and she thinks they're extraterrestrials
Or angels,
and he
archangels.
thinks they're angels and he thinks they're interdimensionals and we can't get along together. That's just silly.
And that's what I wrote down there as a fact. Are we looking at a blending of dimensions that man has just not figured out yet? That at one day future science may say, wait a minute, folks, we actually do coexist in multiple realms.
Mm-hmm. Or is it as a new thought has been coming into our genre that there is a universal natural law that any entity that is malevolent is not allowed to leave its home world. So whatever we see here on Earth that appears to be bad aliens is not from another world, but is something from this world, either under this world, in the oceans of this world, in the land past the ice wall, out in the other places, or from our future.
So this would kind of go in with the law of one, that there is that there is this universal factor. I like how you said, so is that why Earth is quarantined? I mean, I happen to believe that I think the universe is filled with intelligent life.
Well, what if every world is quarantined and you can't get off of your own world until you raise to the place where you won't be malevolent towards other species?
Is that collective or individually?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I could see it individually because I think individuals cross the line quicker than the collective does. I mean, right now, I look at the collective of humanity still being trapped into this necessity to worship unseen gods.
Well, I mean, just look at it like the Van Allen radiation belt, which prevents us from leaving this universe, this planet, essentially. What if that's not a natural occurrence? What if that is put there as a shield, if you will, to keep us on this planet until we learn that you need to stop blowing each other up and you need to stop going out into space carrying a big stick and acting like you're going to be nice until somebody says something wrong to you and then you blow them up. You just can't leave your home world until you get past that.
Like Elon Musk saying, we need to nuke Mars.
Yeah.
So
electric fencing for humans, says Tracy Dyer.
Well, it's already there. You know, NASA released this story, actually, it was 8 days ago, that they have a problem in sending humans into space, is that as we get further from the Earth's protective shield, the cosmic rays are more intensified. They're hitting us here more intensely. The byproduct of that is insanity.
I'm sorry, just a very puzzling someone in the chat. But yeah, the byproduct of that is insanity. And not to mention, space is a vacuum, right, Wayne?
So they say.
Have you ever watched these little videos of what happens when you put like tin cans and bottles and stuff in a vacuum? What happens to them?
They kind of, if I understand right, they compress, do they not?
Have you seen the lunar rover they say went to the moon?
Well, the moon does have an atmosphere, so they say.
Yeah, but put that thing in a vacuum.
I mean, it's like, okay. So I'm trying to show where we're starting, where people can actually see. Um,
Let me just go on record and say that if we did go to the moon, we did not go to the moon the way they showed us we went to the moon.
well, they got the lasers up there, so that does, you can still do that.
Meaning?
Any person can go to any university that has um, a laser that they practice in their physics lab. Universities do this all the time. And quite literally, you can literally shoot the laser up to the moon on the proper coordinates. And both Apollo 11, Apollo 15 left laser reflectors on the moon. And you can literally beam a laser up there and it'll beam right back to you.
I'm a little skeptical, Wayne.
And
I got to tell you, a little skeptical.
go to University of Kansas. They have a great astrophysics department there.
But just let me wax conspiratorial. Is it possible that maybe they know coordinates of things that are reflective up on the moon that didn't get left by nobody, and you can shine a laser beam up there and get a reflection back?
No, because with the laser, it has to be very specific. Otherwise, it scatters.
So you're telling me there's no chance that there's anything reflective on the moon that would reflect a laser back from Earth?
Not in a single beam.
I don't know.
It would scatter. I mean, you would be hitting a reflective surface on the moon, and as my lasers that I use all the time, if you hit like a crystal, it shatters. The laser just literally fractures. We call them fractals, but yeah. Now, I have a certain biasness in the fact that, my dad worked on many of the Apollo craft. He designed all the instrumentation panels for it. Though that Saturn V, yeah, I mean, it's just my take. I mean, I got to know Gene Cernan very well. He was the last man to walk on the moon. And, I found no guile in him.
Interesting.
But it's just to each person's view. Now, here's the thing. You can take a telescopes now, and you can actually, there are different YouTube channels out there, but you can literally see where the Apollo lunar rover left its tracks.
Okay.
And by the way, just a little story on that. My dad helped design that lunar rover. The movie that they had, The Boy in the Bubble, that had the immune disease, my dad designed the extratrabecular vehicle from a Yazoo lawnmower for him to go outside on.
Why didn't your dad save some of the data that we used to go to the moon that they supposedly lost?
What do you
Somebody
mean?
should have saved that.
What data?
Well, they say they can't go back to the moon because they lost all the data. We lost all the pictures. We lost all the information. It's gone.
Oh, no. You can go on to the archives on NASA and spend days on there. They for every mission. I mean, I don't know what data they lost, but I don't know. I happen to believe that we were there. I happen to believe that we were going back. The Chinese are doing it. It's interesting what's on the dark side of the moon. They can't seem to land a craft there, or so they say, but I don't know. Russia says that they've landed one.
Yep, they did say that.
But I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there, but, my dad was an honorable man. He served in the Air Force for quite a few years and left the Air Force to go to work for NASA and Gemini, and was all the way until he retired on Aurora.
Yeah, I was looking at a Forbes article, and they asked a person in NASA, how is it that you claim that we lost the ability to go back to the moon? And they said NASA's response is like the Saturn V has 3 million parts. When the program ended, the factories that assembled those vehicles were retasked or shut down. Things were disassembled.
That I do believe.
The molds were destroyed. So today, if we said, let's build another one, it's not simply a task of pulling out the blueprints. how do you throw that shit away, Wayne? I just don't understand it. I'm just a little bit skeptical.
The Saturn V was developed in 1963, 64. The computer systems we had back then were analog, and they were stored on tapes. And the problem with magnetic tapes is that they begin to oxidize. And you get dropout data. And I don't think anyone really thought, and once we went to the moon, the American people soured. They lost it. We had problems with Nixon, everything else, and the economy. And we just lost our zeal for going into space exploration.
NASA admitted in 2006 that no one could find the original video recordings of the 1969 landing.
I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, but we know we do have the kinescopes that was sent back, but I don't know. We discovered it a lot. One of the things that I can say is this: when I was talking with Gene Cernan, he said the problem they found out very quickly after 11 had landed was the dust on the moon is corrosive. It's like little shards of razors.
Oh, I'll bet.
And that was the problem they found. And when they were coming back, that dust began to collect within the filtration systems, and it wreaked havoc. So I don't know.
NASA astronaut Don Petit says, we used to have the technology to go to the moon, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again. Why would you destroy the technology for the greatest feat ever accomplished by mankind? Just a question. I made a lot. Makes me wonder a little bit, Wayne. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it makes me also think that, they didn't want us to go there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely doesn't seem to be a lot of desire.
The background conspiracy of all this is the reason why we didn't go. We were warned not to go back.
Very interesting.
Every one of the Apollo missions were shadowed by UFOs. Gene Cernan said that when they literally got outside, the 200,000 feet, he said they were there. They followed them there to the moon. They followed them back.
Is Patrick Garrett your guy with the talking to the?
Yeah, talking to the planets.
Now, somebody claims that he said that the moon we see isn't real and that NASA landed on the dark moon. Is that true?
That's what he said.
Interesting. And Wayne, I've asked this question. I don't know. Maybe you can answer it for me. In the full solar eclipse, why don't we see the moon approaching the sun or leaving the sun? We just see it when it starts blocking over.
Well, they'll tell you that the sun in its intensity blocks out all that.
I don't know, man.
Seems
like we should be able to see it.
You and I have seen the full eclipse, recorded it. There is some that says that is actually the black moon.
What is the black moon?
It's supposed to be everything in the universe has its opposites. Earth has an opposite Earth. The moon has an opposite moon.
Interesting.
I still go by my theory is that I think the moon's artificial.
Interesting.
I don't think it was there as a natural satellite. I think it was put there. And my contention is I think it's an observation base.
That's interesting. It's certainly not what we've been told it is. I don't think we've been told the truth.
I don't know what the heck that was, but it came
Something
down.
fell off. You're right above the word is.
Yeah, it certainly did. Well, I guess maybe it didn't. But when you look at it, and here's my thought. You go back to Abram from Chaldea. So actually Sumer, I had to make that correct. The moon has always had an influence on Earth, agriculture, birth. We have bouts of insanity we call lunatics. The moon does emit, I don't know, an energy. And I contend that we are probably nothing more than an experiment down here.
That's an interesting way to look at it. That doesn't make us seem too important, though, does it?
I don't think we are. I think we elevated ourselves to a position, but that's part of the experiment.
So really what we need to get Heidi Vandenberg in here and talk
Yes.
about Rahu and Ketu as
Rahu and Ketu.
aspects of the moon.
Yeah, she would know.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Rahu represents the ascension of the moon in its precessional orbit around the Earth. Rahu and Ketu denote the points of intersection of the paths of the sun and the moon as they move on the celestial sphere. Therefore, Rahu and Ketu are respectively called the north and south lunar nodes. Some people think there is actually a body, though, out there, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah. Indian lore.
I think they would say it was Rahu.
I believe you might be correct. Heidi would know better than that. I mean, she is the expert there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, Jeffrey, we should be further along than what we are. I've contended that we've got records that go back 10,000 years. We have nothing beyond that than pictographs, cave drawings, evidences of other advanced civilizations. And I look at the condition of man today. I don't think that if this was a test to see if we could ascend higher, I don't know if we've met that criteria. And I contend that the moon, I still say, is where the watchers exist.
Who are the watchers?
You know, Gene Roddenberry had a great thing in one of his public forums where he talked about the watchers, and he represented it in an episode of Star Trek Next Generation, and he actually in the original, where we set up a base, an observation base that was camouflaged. The locals couldn't see it.
That was in one of the Next Generation movies.
It was, yeah. And, you know, and then they did the whole movie on it, an Insurrection, where Data went rogue. All right, were we so arrogant that thinking that that can't be in fact and happening to us?
I mean, some people say that they see UFOs entering and leaving Mount Shasta on a regular basis.
Yeah, and there is a great series on Discovery called Contact. And whatever the freak that volcano is down in Mexico, there's obviously something there. Obviously. They're going inside the freaking volcano. Come on. Now, we know from physics that that is impossible. How can a craft enter into a magna pool? I mean,
interesting.
But they clearly show it. There's something going down. I am becoming more convinced that South America holds some secrets, that it's one of those continents that if you look in the development of man, the migration of man coming out of Africa, up into Eurasia, etc., we never hear about South America. South America is like this isolated thing. And I think as a result, when you look at all the architectural finds they have found down there, I'm trying to think, Puka, what is the site?
Puka Pente.
Thank you. I mean, if man did that, then that civilization collapsed because they're not here.
Punta Pente.
Yeah, that is.
Punta.
And so watch that. Check it out. If you want to check out they've only had 3 episodes, but obviously down in Chile, they're lakes. These are high altitude lakes, eyewitnesses, film. So I don't know, Jeff. Something is up. And
something is up. And some people have suggested, I've been hearing this lately, that part of the infiltration along the U.S. border on the south is not just illegal aliens from Mexico. It might really be aliens infiltration from places down in South and Central America where they're being landing, where they're being generated, whatever. That there's, it's either way you look at it, it's an invasion, folks.
So Jeffrey, I heard the best one yet on 5G. And when I read this,
Puma Punku.
Puma Punku. Thank
Yeah.
you, Shannon. Hey, where'd he go? 5G. The most wildest thing I've heard yet is that it is being deployed with the proper monitor in a 5G radius of the radiation that's being emitted from it can tell the difference between what a human is and an alien.
Well, there's no doubt. Now, basically, I read an article yesterday. I was going to do a show on it. I'm not very interested in it, but I know a lot of people are. Basically, what 5G does is bring the cloud to us. It puts us in the cloud 24/7, 365. So if you're constantly in the cloud, you can constantly be monitored, and they would be able to tell if it's a regular human signature or a non-human signature.
Yes. I mean, do you believe they walk among us?
I do.
I do too. I do too. There's never been any adequate explanation for me of where the white race came from. I get where the dark colored race came from. We have evidence of that. Dates back in some cases 200,000 years with the gold mines in Southeast Africa. So we know the migration of that particular race, but I can't figure out where did the white race come from, and they say that it came from the north.
Yeah.
All right, so what are we dealing with here? You see, as I look at this more and more, it looks like an experiment to me.
I can see where you would say that. I find it hard to argue against that.
And I don't know where we are in the experiment. I'm convinced that we're seeing the rapid transmutation of our species.
I tend to think of it more as an arena. We're put here
Ooh.
with the potential to become, divine, sovereign, and free, and we're put here in this arena to figure it out and to work it out. And we keep coming back until we do.
The superior spirits say that many of us here on Earth, we're in graduate school.
I think as the being that we call God is, we can become, and as we are, the being we call God once was.
I can see that. I finally got the God spell broken enough now internally that I don't see God as a personification. I see God as an essence.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And when I pass on to the other side, that's why I'm so involved in learning the spirit realm here.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I had this great conversation last night because she was asking, she says, well, okay, so walk me through this. I get the idea that we were lied to. Yeah. Having to reconstruct the whole concept. But so now talk to me about how you see the necessity of figuring out what's over there. And I said, well, honey, if you and I were going to take a safari trip, we would find out everything we could about the culture, the climate, what is the diseases in there, what we need to pack. We would begin to do this months before we go.
Yep.
And, Jeffrey, all through my Christian upbringing, it was beat into me theologically, you don't mess in the spirit realm. You leave that to Jesus. He'll protect you. And it dawned on me, they're using the very same approach that I'm seeing it now, except I don't believe in Jesus. That means it implies that there's something more over there that may be more powerful than me. It shows that there may be laws, principles that have to be complied with. And I don't think that there is going to be this nursery for all of us when we pass over.
No, it's about preparing yourself here to be ready for there.
Do you see yourself on the other side as becoming much more, I'd say, advanced in your perception now of understanding how the spirit exists?
Yes.
Yeah, I would too. And it changes you, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. We were talking to some Christian friends, and they said the comment, they said, Wayne, you've changed. I was speaking on levels that they couldn't understand.
Hmm.
The guy told me, he says, I think you really have, he says, you're so far gone from us. That's what he said. You're
Was he
so,
calling you crazy?
almost, almost. But the comment was that you're so far away from us now, meaning the Christian mindset.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to get out of that, and I'll make a statement that is controversial, but it's true. You cannot, will not get out of this construct until you get rid of the Judeo-Christian, every bit of it from your psyche. It'll hold you back.
And you know, Jeffrey, it's the problem I'm having with magic. I believe in magic. I believe in the theory of magic. I can't accept the magic of dealing with a Hebraic God, but I'll share this with you and the audience. So I had a dream, and in this dream, this person came up to me and said, it's not about the name, it's what the name generates.
Wayne, might I suggest to you that that name, I know the name you're talking about, is not the name of the Hebrew God. The Hebrew God just pirated that name. It's a very
Interesting.
powerful name, and he just usurped it. Like, you know, even the kings of all ages have taken names of the greatest, and that's not really their name. I don't think that that's really his name. I think he stole it.
I agree with you. I would agree with you. But that's what this dream told me, that it's not the name. Get the name association out. It's the Adonai.
Mm-hmm.
It's the El. It's the frequency. It's the throat chakra
Right.
coming out.
The
Yeah.
vibration of it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And Lon Milo Duquette, one of the great hermeticists, magical practitioners of America now, I told him one time I don't like to use those names. He goes, well, don't. they're your rituals.
I like that. I would have liked to have followed up with that. Well, you know, you and I have talked about this, that when Moses was out in the desert, who was the magician he had with him? Was it Ebenezer? Who was the guy? No, it starts with an A. I can see the name.
You talking about Aaron?
No, it's the other cat that was out there with Moses that was able to take the symbols, speak the syllables of the Hebraic alphabet in such a term that it literally opened a portal that this God came through on. That showed, as it says in the Bible, that Moses saw the vision of the Holy Tabernacle in heaven, and he just simply copied it.
Interesting.
I mean, what did he see?
And where did he see?
Where did he see? I contend, again, as I've studied the Solomon symbols, all 44 of them, I'm convinced we're looking at a schematic blueprint of a language. It's electric.
Interesting.
And it's, I'm not there, Jeffrey, but there's got to be others who have seen the same thing. This is a language, I think, of a species that we've interpreted to be God, angels, and a whole substrate of this complex world.
Somebody says we're toddlers playing with power tools. Well, how else are you going to learn?
We're just trying not to cut off our hands. That's all.
Exactly. So what's the alternative? Don't play with anything? Don't learn anything?
No. I figure it's like this. I may get burnt, I may get damaged, but I'm not going to quit.
And I won't do the same thing again.
Yeah. If the stove is hot, I'm not going to put my hand over there.
Not twice, maybe once. Yeah. Just to see what's going on.
But, the great wizards of our time, as I've studied their lives, wow, it dawned on me, none of these cats were rich. They didn't want wealth. They didn't want the material things. They were so far into something that, it either exists or it is such a fragment of man's imagination that we can't escape it.
Interesting. Somebody just made a good point. I've always been convinced that in the highest of the highest realms, there's no language, there's no words. So why do we have to speak words in order to make ritual work here?
Don't know. That's a good question.
That is a good question. Maybe we don't need to. We just think we need to.
They say that man began to speak about 70,000 years ago, that something happened and we suddenly, larynx, whatever, began to express spoken word. I still say that the purest of all language would be telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it?
I agree. Yeah.
I told Lynn, I said, honey, I prayed on my knees more time I can think. I had calluses, I think, at one point. And I said, what was I doing? Who was I communicating with? When I would pray in tongues, when I would pray just in my thought, I said, who was I talking to? And how do you explain that when some of your prayers got answered?
Right.
How did that happen?
Well, the power of your intention would be my answer.
It would.
And every now and then some entity would throw you a bone to keep you on the path. Would be another answer.
And that's where I had the problem. And why I believe in this is that I was so stuck, Jeffrey, on here's the thing that really was one of the straws that we're building to break the camel's back. Through John 13 through John 16, there are 5 specific times that Jesus said, ask anything in my name and I will grant it to you. He says, ask anything in my name and my Father will give it to you. 5 different times. It has no conditions. It has no parameters. And I looked at Lynn and I said, so what was I asking for? What was I believing? In Jesus' name.
So what was your conclusion?
Well, I told her it was the best mental exercise of my lifetime. I never realized it that way. Not that the fact that the name doesn't exist, that doesn't matter. What it did do for me was to show me how mentally strong I could actually be in manifesting my desires. I was just using a substitute.
You were.
Exactly.
That's good. And you believed it, so it carried your intention.
Oh, powerfully.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen many, and the one that I captured down that was on film was a black woman down in Texas, and a guy had come in to rob the store. And she got right up in his face with that gun, and she says, in the name of Jesus, you're going to get your ass out of here. And that's what she said. You're going to get your ass out of here. You will not come back in here. And the dude was well 12 inches above her, and he said, yes, ma'am, and walked out.
Good.
So it tells, was that woman, was she empowered by the name? No, she was empowered by her own self.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of, I'd have to see the video and stuff. There's probably some socio-cultural aspects that could have figured into that as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. But, I mean.
Was she a black woman?
Yes, she was.
Was the perpetrator a black man?
Yep.
And, I mean, how many times had he had his grandma get up in his face?
That's
and say,
exactly what I was
thinking. Get your ass out of here. She's like, yes, ma'am. So there's a lot that feeds into that.
Yeah. But her courage was not because of an unseen entity. What's wrong?
No, I'm just saying you can't doubt her courage. She had that intention.
I mean, the gun was loaded. It was real.
Yeah.
It was cops. Thank you. It was cops.
Oh, it was on cops?
Yeah.
Nice. Every now and then, huh?
Yeah, she flat. But so I'm glad you brought this on. I'm going to make notes of this after the show. It really does. You can take this as indoctrination and how it contaminated us, or look at this and say, it made me a mental, spiritual giant.
Well, we thought everything that we thought we were doing in Jesus' name, if we can make the transition to realize we can do it in our name, then we can take advantage of it. But if we feel like, oh my God, Jesus is gone and I've got nothing else, you've taken away my Jesus, now I can't do anything, then you are just unempowered, disempowered.
Jeffrey, you just said something. Why is it that we don't believe in our own name?
Because we were taught to believe in Jesus' name. We've been systematically neutered
Ooh,
by the fear and guilt control matrix.
I like that one.
It's true.
Well, that boy doesn't have any balls.
He doesn't. And then they've been sodomizing us on top of it.
And oh boy, I can really go down them. Well, don't even touch that one.
I wish they hadn't started touching them.
Exactly. Leave it alone, right?
Yeah.
But you bring out a really good point. I mean, you should do a whole, it's the power of the individual's name. I mean, how are you going to answer yourself when you get over on the other side and the Spirit says, who are you?
That's an interesting point.
I've often wondered this. I don't know what my name was. If I keep saying one lifetime isn't enough.
Wayne, somebody in the chat room comes in, a name I don't recognize, and says, is this New Age thinking? Is it New Age thinking?
No, it's probably about as old age as you can get.
One thing that I can say to you, Kathy, is if the old thinking has produced where we are, it might be time for some new thinking.
Boy, isn't that a fact? Oh, Jeffrey.
And if the old age is you thinking, oh, I can do nothing except I do it in the name of Jesus, and the new age is you can do everything in your own name because you're divine, sovereign, and free, I'd say, yeah, that's new age thinking. Maybe it's time to move out of an old age of fear, guilt, and control and into a new age of divinity, sovereignty, and freedom. But that's just me.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Hey, Wayne.
What did they say in 1655? I mean, let's go back. Let's go back to 1555. What would they have said in the name of who? Ayus?
Ooh,
is it?
Good one.
Folks, get your head out of your proverbial butts and get this. I mean, if we're saying in the name of Jesus is so freaking powerful, then what did they use in 1655? What was the name?
Well, like 1555.
Yeah, 1555 would have been Jesus.
Yeah, what the name Jesus wasn't around, so what they use?
Yeah. In the name of Jesus. Well,
but Wayne, there is only one name given among men under heaven, whereby men must be saved. Well, which one? Because there was a different one up until 1600, let's just say.
And in the Latin,
did Paul McCartney write a song that said, "Hey Zeus"?
Yes, yes.
Hey
yes.
Jude, but hey Zeus. Gary Baxter said that. Yeah.
And that was, and it's still in the name today. Zeus is still there.
Yeah, I've often wondered about the similarities between Jesus and Zeus.
Have you done a program on that?
No.
You ought to.
Now I got "Hey Jude" in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know if McCartney wrote that or Lennon did. I'm not sure. I think McCartney wrote that.
I don't remember. I remember the song.
Yeah.
That tells me something.
Hey Jude.
So Jesus, Jesus, it's all got Zeus.
It says Lennon McCartney, so who knows which one it was. I think that's a McCartney, in my opinion.
And as I contend, folks, show me in the Gospel of John where they went to great lengths to give you the Hebraic words of supposedly the last words of this dude up there. But yet, in the previous chapter, when Pilate said, put the three names of the man on there and nail it above his head, why didn't they give us those three names?
That's a good point.
It would have ended all the controversy. Mm-hmm. Would have known the translation in the multilingual of the time and the culture. It would have either been Greek, it would have either been Latin, or it would have been Aramaic.
I think the three signs said, "You've been had."
Jeffrey, that was worth the price of admission.
Because it's just stupidity. We've been had.
We've been had. And I have seen families get divided, friends, marriages, over a name that I shake my head, and I was there myself. Boy, was I ever. I would cuss someone out using the name of Jesus.
There you go.
I mean, that righteous indignation.
Absolutely. I don't know, man. I just don't know. Sometimes I wonder. I really do. Here's your sign.
Here's your sign.
Bill Evil, the comedy routine. Just
who's that?
His name is Bill. I can't remember. Is it Evald or Ewald?
Oh yeah, I've seen him. He's good. Yeah. He's part of the redneck crew, isn't he?
Yeah, it's kind of like you may be a redneck if you might be a redneck. Well, here's your sign if you're stupid,
So that's the whole thing.
Things.
If they're going to use the mind control,
Bill Envol,
yeah, of the blue. What's that?
Matthew Garvin says, "Forrest, have you found Jesus yet?" Well, I didn't know I was supposed to be looking for him, Lieutenant Dan.
It's true.
Yeah. Just the whole idea that you're lost. You're lost. Come on, man. Not lost.
Wow. And you've just said that. It's like, well, when was I found?
I like that shirt that says, "Not all who wander are lost."
I like that. That's a good one.
Foxworthy did not do the "Here's Your Sign." That was Bill Evald.
Yeah.
But Foxworthy did "You May Be a Redneck."
Someone says they love your plastic Jesus shirt.
I like that shirt too. It's nice.
That's a good one. That is a good one. I like that, Jeff. You got it on your website?
I do.
All right. We'll have to buy one.
I like it.
Well, another Sunday has come and gone. This has been a good one. This has been a deep thinking episode.
It has been, and there's so much to think about. And, I wonder, Wayne, I declared myself this week I'm going for top shelf radio anymore and not lowest common denominator. But, I go back and forth because there's a lot of people out there that are just at baby status. Do you direct your information to baby status, or do you direct your information to the top shelf where people are ready to rock and roll? I'm tired of spoon feeding people. I'm just tired of it.
It can get laborious.
Yeah.
Well, I made the decision over in mind that, it's why I left the Nibiru community. I just said, well, come on. I mean, listen, if it exists, that's fine. But what do we do with it now?
Yeah.
We look at the pictures and go, ooh, ah. No, what we're talking about is potentially either something very bad for humanity and a lot of death, or a lot of fear.
Yeah.
And we have to give them an alternative. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going top shelf radio. That's just the way it is.
Well, excellent. I support you for it.
And tonight we have Rocky Stucci and myself on Shut Up and Listen. We've also been picked up now by iHeartRadio, so you can hear us on a lot of different stations. So check out Shut Up and Listen tonight at 9 p.m. Central with Rocky Stucci, the emotional meatball.
I like mine with spaghetti.
Yeah. It's a lot of interesting stuff. It really is. But I mean, and Wayne, I'm learning a lot about stem cells, and not the stem cells that come from a fetus. We're not talking about that, but stem cells that come from the umbilical cord. They're miraculous. Some of the things they can do.
Mm-hmm. Blank slates.
They really are, and it's almost a little bit scary, but I mean, they can do so much things for you. They can even rebuild new heart and blood vessel tissue. It's just amazing.
The Chinese are way advanced into that.
Yeah. And we're working with a company called STEM Light now, which is doing great things for disabled veterans. And they're actually bringing us down to Puerto Rico for a big Puerto Rico Strong event in November. So we're going to go down there and raise some money for the folks that have been displaced by the Puerto Rican hurricanes, and help out some kids and do some live podcasting from Puerto Rico. So look forward to that in November.
Excellent.
Yeah. And Joseph Atwell's coming back on the channel, the author of Caesar's Messiah. He's going to come back and talk about Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, his other book. So I'm looking forward to that.
You talking about Francis Bacon?
I think he's talking about Francis Bacon. Yeah.
Oh, people, y'all should watch that because it'll blow you away.
Yeah, I can't. The Caesar's Secret Messiah blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
And now moving on to Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, it's going to be just powerful stuff. I'm getting ready to go on Talk is Jericho with Chris Jericho, which is going to be such a lot of fun. I can't wait for that.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Go get him.
That guy is so, I mean, if you haven't, Wayne, I know you're a connoisseur of music. Go on to YouTube or something and pull up. How are you with metal music? Do you like metal?
I listen to all kinds of music.
Listen to the song. The group is Fozzy, F-O-Z-Z-Y, and the song is Judas.
Okay.
Listen to the lyrics. Those are written by Chris Jericho, and he's the lead singer of Fozzy. Deep, deep stuff. I was amazed. I mean, I like Jericho's music. I like his character in the WWE. I read his book. I like his podcast, smart guy. But when I listen to his lyrics, I'm like, oh, this guy is beyond that. He's deep, deep, and it's very good stuff.
We like deep thinkers.
We do like deep thinkers, and it's nice when you got people that are in the public eye that don't really help themselves necessarily by bringing out deep thought that still choose to do so. I like that. That's why I like Tom Cruise. I mean, does he have a crazy religion? Yeah, but he stands behind it.
Yeah.
He has the courage of his convictions.
He stands up for it.
Yep.
I mean, not to get into politics, it's one of the things I like about Marianne Williams. I don't agree in everything she has, but she seems to be one of the most enlightened individuals I've seen in the political arena in some time.
Yeah, she does stand up for what she believes. She's not afraid to be called crazy.
No.
But crazy people aren't afraid to be called crazy either, Wayne.
Hey, listen, I just told someone told me you're so far from us that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So let me know what you think of the Fozzy song when you hear it.
All right, I will, my friend. I'll text you.
All right, Wayne. What do you got going on this week?
This week, boy, I had a great guy on. You should look into having him on, David with ADAPT 2030. Talking
ADAPT 2030?
Mm-hmm, talking about the grand solar minimum coming up in 2030. Very interesting individual. Very astute.
Was that Diamond with the mohawk?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
David Morello?
I don't know what his last name is.
Oh, okay.
Is
he out in Colorado on a ranch out there?
In Australia. Taiwan, okay. Excuse me. He's in Taiwan.
Different David.
Yeah. In fact, he was saying it was getting a little tense there in Taiwan, but
I'll
bet. So, yeah, was really good on that. So, yeah, come on over on my channel. We're discussing deep topics.
I like it.
Yeah. Spiritualism.
I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, and I'll share some of the experiences and some of these rituals, my friend.
All right, Wayne, it's pancake time.
It is. Give my best to Miss Cynthia.
Will do. Do you do the same to Lynn?
Oh, she's right there. She loves you. And anyway.
And I think we're going to be back over there before too long. Mike and Kim are coming back out that way. So we're going to come over and see the man, the myth, the legend, Rex Bear, and see you guys too.
I think they're actually going to stop by here at the house. So you're welcome.
Beautiful.
As well. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
All right, then. Appreciate it, Wayne. For our Wayne Steiger, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower. And we hope that you have the best week that you've had all year long.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.